So, liebe Freunde, herzlich willkommen zu unserem Sprachprogramm. Hearty welcome to the language program of DCL's Academy. Today, we are going to deal with a very important chapter in the German grammar, which is known as Adjektivdeklination. Declination of the adjectives. Before we go deep into the adjective declinations, I would like to remind you of two words known as conjugation, and declination. Very often people confuse between these two terminologies. Conjugation or conjugation is only for the verbs. Declination is for the nouns, articles, pronouns and adjectives. So the moment you hear about conjugation or conjugation, you should think of the verbs, and declination is for adjectives, nouns, pronouns and articles. Now what do we mean by this declination? By declination we mean that the original form of an adjective will change, the meaning remaining the same. I repeat, the original form of the adjective will change, but the meaning will not change. For example, in English you say the small child. You can also say the small children, the big man, the tall woman. You can also say the big men, the tall women. In all these examples, the adjective small, big, tall, they don't undergo any change. They remain as such. Whether it is singular or masculine or feminine or plural, the adjective have an independent position. They do not undergo any change in the form. But in German, the adjectives will change their forms according to the noun which comes after that. If it is a masculine noun, it has got a particular form. If it is a feminine noun, it has got a particular form. If it is a plural, it has got yet another form. This is what we mean by adjective declination. Whether we need this adjective declination or not, that is a linguistic question. Many people say that is redundant. Redundant means that is not necessary, but that is yet a completely different field. We are not going to that. We are now concentrating only in the adjective declination. For example, this adjective is known as an Eigenschaftswort. Eigenschaft is a quality. So an adjective is also known as a Eigenschaftswort, and it is a very important word or class in the German language. That's what I have given as das Adjektiv, auch Eigenschaftswort genannt, ist eine wichtige Wortart. And now let's have a quick look or a little more information about the adjectives. Es gibt qualitative und relative Adjektive. There are qualitative adjectives and relative adjectives. What do we mean by that? You see, qualitative Adjektive haben eine komparative and superlative Form. Qualitative adjectives have got a comparative and superlative form that you have learned in your A2 or B1 grammar. Positive, comparative and superlative. Schön, schöner, am schönsten. Grün, grüner, am grünsten. So schön is a grün form, that's a basic form, and from there we can make a gradation, a comparison, a comparative form. Schöner, more beautiful. Am schönsten, most beautiful. So schön, beautiful. Schöner, more beautiful. Am schönsten, most beautiful. Similarly, grün, green, grüner, green, more green. Am grünsten, very, very, very green. There are many other which you have learned. Hoch, hoher, höher, am höchsten. White, whiter, am weitesten. Alt, älter, am ältesten. Gut, besser, am besten, und so weiter und so weiter. So these adjectives, these are all adjectives what I have mentioned here. They are capable of taking a comparative form and they are capable of taking a superlative form. Such adjectives are known as qualitative adjectives. Now look at the relative adjectives. They are derivations from some noun. There is a noun and you derive an adjective from that particular noun. Beispiel, politische Frage. That's a political question. That's a political matter. That's a political theme. Politische. That's an adjective. But it doesn't have a comparative form. It doesn't have a superlative form. These are all only derivations. Another example is indischer Tee, Indian tea. No comparative, no superlative. So such adjectives are known as relative adjectives. This is the basic information that you should be having when you are dealing with adjectives and adjective declinations. Hence, this you should keep in mind that there are two types of adjectives, qualitative adjective and relative adjective, and only qualitative adjectives are capable of taking the comparative and superlative form. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is that an adjective is capable of taking different positions in a sentence. Look at the sentence. The skin is klein. The child is small. Klein is an adjective. So it is coming after the verb. And this is known as a Nachstellung in einem Satz. Adjective comes after the verb. But an adjective can also come before the noun. Das kleine Kind, the small child. Here, the adjective is coming in front of the noun, and this is known as a Vorderstellung. And you have to keep in mind, only when the adjective has got a Vorderstellung, that means only if the adjective is in front of the noun, it is declined, not otherwise. The adjectives which are placed after the verb are not declined. That is, nur die vorgestellten Adjektive werden dekliniert. Das müssen Sie genau im Kopf halten und darüber müssen Sie auch im Klaren sein. Now, people are so much worried about the adjective declinations. They think that it is very, very difficult. Somewhere it is this and that, and they are totally confused. Maybe if you look at it in a closer way, this is the easiest part of the German grammar. Yes, I mean that. It is the easiest, and I'll prove it to you right now. You see, there are only 5 declinations. There are only 5 different forms of adjective declinations. There is a E, there is a EN, there is a ER, there is a ES, and there is a EM. There are just 5 endings. That's all. And if you look at it, you can master the adjective declinations in 1 or 2 hours. All the adjectives and the adjective declinations are divided into 3 sections, 3 types. Adjective declinations for definite articles, adjective declinations for indefinite articles, and adjective declination for 0 articles. That's all. And this, what you see right now, it is the adjective declination for type 1, that is bestimmte article. And if you have a look at that, the ending en is predominating all other types. Only in 5 places there is a E. That is in nominative masculine singular, nominative neutral singular, and nominative feminine singular, and then accusative neutral and feminine. In all other places it is en. So if you remember these 5 exceptions, then type 1 is not a problem for you. So try to remember these 5 exceptions, and keep in mind, dative and genitive type 1, it is always en. There is no problem. And in plural also it is always en. And there are only 5 exceptions. Coming to type 2, again dative and genitive completely en, and accusative masculine is also en. There are only 5 exceptions: nominative masculine, nominative neutral, nominative feminine, accusative neutral, and accusative feminine. In all other cases it is en. So for the first 2 types, in genitive and dative cases, you can close your eyes and happily write en as an adjective declination. Coming to type 3, that is 0 article or null article, there also you will find en in many places. So this you have to be a little careful as far as the 3rd type is concerned, and there you need a little practice. And the dative masculine and dative neutral, it is em, which reminds you of the them which you have learned in A1. In dative masculine it is them singular, in dative neutral also it is them. In dative feminine it is there, but here it is only that D is not there, but that R remains. And dative plural is then plus N. Then instead of then plus N, you have here a En. So if you keep such things in mind, there is absolutely no problem regarding the adjectives declinations are concerned. And I have given you some types here so that you can keep it in mind. And if you look at this table, Insgesamt gibt es 44 Adjektivendungen. Altogether in type 1, type 2 and type 3 there are 44 Adjektivendungen, and out of these 22 are en, that means 50% it is en. Only 11 are e, only 5 are er, and only 4 are es, and just 2 em. So with this in mind, if you go through the type 1, type 2 and type 3 tables, then you will understand and have a better look. A few examples I have given here. Der Mann, masculine singular. Alt is the adjective. Der alte Mann. Die Frau, die alte Frau. Das Kind, das hübsche Kind. What do you note? Definite article singular, the ending is ee, and we have said already the plural forms is always en. Die alten Männer, die alten Frauen, die hübschen Kinder. When it comes to ein, it is ein alter Mann, because it is der Mann. That's why they have shown it as alter. It is die Frau, so it is eine alte. Alter reminds you of die. And ein hübsches Kind, hübsches S reminds you of das Kind, ein hübsches Kind. Dativ, plural, den alten Männer or den alten Männern. Accusative, den alten Mann, einen alten Mann. Accusative feminine, die alte Frau, eine alte Frau. And I suggest that you learn these exceptions by heart, so that it makes things very, very easy for you. Mit herzlichem Dank, null Artikel. Mit fließendem Wasser, null Artikel. Ich schließe diesen Brief mit herzlichem Dank. Ich brauche ein Zimmer mit fließendem Wasser. Null Article, whether it is masculine or neutral, the ending is am, fließendem, herzlichem. Few more examples. Heute ist es gutes Wetter. Heute haben wir gutes Wetter. Das ist ein schönes Haus. Ich habe ein rotes Auto. Er ist ein guter Mann. Roter Wein ist teuer. Mit schlechter Gesundheit kann man nicht arbeiten. Wegen starker Erkältung bleibt er im Bett. Das Leben armer Menschen ist schwer. If you learn such typical examples, beispielsweise by heart, it will help you to conquer the adjective declinations very easily without any difficulty. So, another thing also you should keep in mind, mehrere koordinierte Adjektive werden auf gleiche Weise dekliniert. That means, if before a noun more than one adjectives are there, then what will we do? It is also very simple. It is the same way. Mit großem, herzlichem Dank. There are two adjectives here. Groß, herzlich. Declined in the same way. Mit großem, herzlichem Dank. Both em. Another example, ein gutes, altes Haus. A good old home. But in some places in Germany, if the first adjective is declined in a em, then the second adjective is declined with en. They also say mit gutem deutschen Wein. Both are acceptable. Now, another tip. After alle and keine, it is always en. Alle guten Schüler, keine kranken Kinder. So you just learn it by heart. After alle and keine, the adjective declination is en. Similarly, after viele and einige, the ending is always e. Viele junge Studenten, einige junge Studenten. Then ein sehr schönes Mädchen. What will happen if a word like sehr is standing in front of the adjective? It is not declined in any way. Sehr remains like that. Sehr kann nicht dekliniert werden. So, ein schönes Mädchen, ein sehr schönes Mädchen. These are known as particles. So, if a particle is there in front of the adjective, the particle is not declined. Similarly, Cardinalzahlen like 1, 2, 3, they are also not declined. 3 junge Arbeiter, 3 young workers. 2 junge Arbeiter, 2 young workers, and so on and forth. But Ordinalzahlen like erste, zweite, dritte, they are declined. Sie werden dekliniert. Beispiel: wohnt im dritten Stock. He is staying in the 3rd floor. Dritte is the word, but it is declined, and we say im dritten Stock, in the 3rd floor. Now I have given you some 30 sentences as some sort of a homework. You can, with all this theory background, you can do all these things, and we'll be only happy to help you in the way of correction or whatever it may be. So go through this theory part once again and just learn the adjective declination, get rid of your fear, and say happy to adjective declinations. Thank you, vielen Dank und bis zum nächsten Mal. Wiedersehen.